Hi everyone, welcome to this webinar. My name is Marie-Claire Puffett. I'm the Marketing and Insights Director here at IAB Europe, and also I lead our retail media work track. So I'm really delighted to host today's webinar with lots of retail media experts. So you're going to hear from members of our retail media working group and really get an up-to-date view on the retail media market in Europe. So we're going to be kind of looking at insights from our recently published 101 Guide to Retail Media, as well as our recent standard survey. So the webinar is being recorded and will be available on the IAB Europe website over the next few days to watch back. So before we kick off, I'm just going to give you a real quick whistle-stop tour of our 101 Guide that we just published actually last week. So hopefully lots of you have already seen it. And if you haven't, then please do go over to the IAB Europe website and download it. So in the guide, you can access a pan-European definition of retail media. So what we've done within the working group is broken down digital retail media by on-site, off-site, and digital in-store. And I'm just going to show you those definitions in just a second, just for a bit of context before the panel. And then you can also find out more about how to purchase retail media campaigns, how you can enhance brand presence and reach, and also there's insights in there into current available measurement and targeting options, as well as lots of best practices and case studies from our members. So just a big thank you to everyone from our membership who has worked on this. The expertise and insight that we've had input to this has really helped shape this into a kind of really great resource and must read for the industry. So thank you so much to everyone. And just quickly on the definition, so you can see here, as I said, we've broken it down into digital in-store, on-site and off-site. So this diagram sits alongside some real detailed definitions that are available in the 101 guide. So like I say, do go and download the guide, read the definitions, and hopefully they'll help you in your businesses. So with that, I'm going to hand over to Michelle from Sky to take us through the first panel, which is a 101 to retail media in Europe. So over to you, Michelle, and your panel. Thank you.
Thank you, MC. Amy, I'm not sure if you're turning the cameras on, but we'll get started. So thank you for the introduction. My name is Michelle Owen. I am VP of Marketing here at Sky, which many of you may remember as Kenshu. We're an omnichannel marketing platform, so enabling brands to automate, activate, and optimize their spend across retail media, but also alongside search and social as well. I have a whole crew of panelists with me today, so I'm going to give them a moment to introduce themselves. Kim, you're first on the slide, so do you want to kick off?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everybody. So, yeah, my name's Kim Ludlow. I've worked in retail media for the last 6 years, worked in retail for as long as I can remember. I'm not going to give the years away. Yeah, pleasure to meet you all, and hopefully I can give you some useful insights, and thanks for hosting, Michelle.
No, thank you for joining. I know Robert's been waylaid, so we'll move straight on to James. James, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, James Allison here. I'm the Director of Partnerships for Advertimer. I lead our engagement and market development in continental Europe. I have been in and around retail media for the last 8 years, retail media, retail data and technology, and that's me.
Cool. Alban?
Yes, hi everyone. Alban here. I'm the regional CEO for CitrusAd in Europe, Middle East and Africa. And CitrusAd is part of a larger group called Publicis. And our sister agency is called Epsilon. So we provide on-site and off-site retail media. I have quite a few years of experience in retail media. I used to lead Criteo in Asia for many years. And as part of this, I was responsible for the performance side as well as the emerging retail media as well. Very, very happy to be here with you today.
Welcome. We are happy to have you. And last but not least, Anders.
Hi, Michelle. Hi, everyone. Very happy to be here. So my name is Anders. I've joined EPAM, and sometimes we call it the biggest company you've never heard of, because we're working behind the line. So I'm a retail media consultant, meaning I accompany retailers typically on getting a retail media network up and running. This can be integrating off-the-shelf tools, or it can be actually building new platforms. So that's the work EPAM does. I'm on the consulting side, so I get to work with go-to-market strategies, with maturity assessments and roadmaps. So very happy to have joined this webinar and talk about some of the things that we're seeing in the market.
Well, exciting, and congratulations on your new role.
Thanks.
So it is Retail Media 101. So I know you guys are all experts, but we do need to bring it back to basics a little bit. I actually laughed when I heard this title. It feels like Retail Media 101 is a bit of an oxymoron now. We've kind of seen the evolution of it, and it's gotten so complex in the last few years. Obviously, the IAB have created this new 101 guide, which MC introduced at the start of this session, and that's really aimed at bridging the gap in education. But is it enough? Like, what else needs to be done here? James, do you have any thoughts on this? I'm going to kick to you first.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. This guide and what the IAB is doing is a fantastic start. And there are other organizations that are running retail media webinars and events. I think there definitely needs to be more of this. What I've seen whilst in the kind of circling events over the last year is that retail media plays a small part often in media or digital media events, but where we can kind of drive and be a part of retail media specific events in Europe would be definitely a fantastic start. I think also in terms of those complexities, there are technologies that are emerging in the space and very quickly. So it's now, how do we kind of take stock of the education that we've put out there as an industry, get the feedback on how that's landing, and then what else do we need to do to communicate to the industry around retail media standards and the education.
Yeah, absolutely. I think closing that loop is so important. Kim, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think, again, a great report, and, is the fact that it is 101. I think, the one area or a couple of areas that I've found that agencies, media agencies and retailers kind of needed help with is to understand each other's space. Everyone works for their brand / supplier. And it feels as if sometimes there's a bit of a push me, pull you kind of relationship between who owns that relationship. And actually both of them do. But it's a way that I think, if we can help both parties kind of understand how that works. So, maybe the AIB want to host a couple of workshops. Some guys within the retailers will know their stuff, but some won't. So I think it's just kind of that education piece. The other thing that I think kind of goes unnoticed and kind of forgotten about, when you're booking out campaigns, you don't necessarily understand the way that a retail media platform, a way that the e-commerce platform works. So where's the traffic coming from? Where is the traffic? And it does vary by different vertical. So grocery performs in a slightly different way to fashion, for example. And I think those types of levels of insights can help brands plan better and smarter. So again, something that the IAB could work on. It's not too difficult to do, because it will be pretty much the standard across each vertical. But I think, it's useful insights to help brands plan better.
Yeah, Anders, you're relatively new into your role, but I know obviously EPAM, big consultancy. What kind of questions do you get asked? Where are the education gaps with the clients that you're working with?
So maybe I'll take it from another angle, actually, because I've been doing a lot of things in education over the past couple of years. Mm-hmm. I think everybody's searching for the way to organize themselves. So whether that be advertisers, retail media networks, there's a need for mixing media knowledge with commerce knowledge. And then there's the technical dimension of this, which is very, very big and complex. So what we're seeing is, first of all, questions around how do I, where does it sit in the organization? Secondly, how do I get my teams up to speed? So there's even education at the personal level. Like there's like shifting knowledge from traditional media knowledge into retail media. There is traditional programmatic traders that need to go and understand the retail commerce space, and for somebody who's doing retail media as an advertiser, we suddenly have this new dimension of what if the product isn't in stock? So there's a total new dimension to the work that many people do. So I find it crucial what IAB is doing. This is a great guide. I know, Michelle, that you worked on a guide as well. I worked on a guide as well, and I'm actually really happy to see that there are, I don't know how many state of retail media reports out there, or how many one-on-one guides, but it's just adding to it. And I think increasingly we're getting closer to a common definition of what we're talking about. We're getting to working on common standards as well that are going to come up in the next session. So a lot of things happening. I think keeping going on educating, on communicating, and also these educational initiatives actually at the personal level are really important.
Great, thank you. I'm conscious we've just had another panelist join us, I believe. You're definitely not, I was going to say, you're definitely not Robert on that link. Sultan, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you. No, I'm not Robert, but I'm Sultan, and I am here because he couldn't make it. I am part of Schwarz Media, and Schwarz Media entered the retail media market quite recently. And we want to make an impact. We want to change and have a little bit of force to set standards, and therefore we are here to communicate with you guys what the future looks like.
Great, well, welcome. I'm not going to throw you in the deep end and send the question straight your way. I'll give you a moment to
Thank you.
to ease into the panel, but moving on, I guess, to the next question. The paper does cover a lot of the reasons why retail media is so important for brands. Kim, I'll start with you. What are those key opportunities for retail media for advertisers across Europe?
Yeah, I think the beauty now, and again, I realize it's a 101, so we'll take it down to the basics. I think, moving away from the world where the big brands benefited because they had the big budgets. Now you've got the opportunity for everyone to benefit from the systems and from the technology that's available. Enabling them to see real time, if I get my teeth together, metrics, I think is really important. But I think also, understanding things like considering your campaign objectives, where you should be thinking about not just using retail media as a way to drive sales. Of course, that's the one of the key areas, but it's all about how you can increase brand awareness and put your brands in front of shoppers where you couldn't put brands in front of shoppers. So for things like NPDs, etc., and how you can actually utilize the space that's available on that retailer's website to push new messaging and influence purchase. So yeah, I mean, my kind of I always think just keep it simple. That's the process to start off with. If this is new to you, just go in with sponsored products. Go in with a reasonable bid. If you're not delivering any traffic, you know that you're not going to be winning, so you need to increase that bid. I think it's just very basic fundamentals of just getting you live, but embrace it and listen to the advice that you get from your retailers.
Absolutely. Alban, do you have anything to build on that around the key retail media opportunities for advertisers?
Yes, can you hear me fine, by the way?
Yeah, you're good.
Great. Yes, absolutely. I think the opportunities, in my opinion, are relatively similar to what we are seeing for retailers. In fact, The advertisers and the suppliers in general are going to have a deeper access to insights. They are going to progressively get access also to a larger scale in the industry, which is something that up until now has been a little bit, I would say, put to the side. The idea of retail media has been here for a long time, but it is very obvious that for many retailers and advertisers, it was just not yet at the level to match their expectations. And one of the things that is clearly in high demand is to first be able to reach the right shopper at the right time. But more importantly, I guess, is to be able to make sense and own the actual data behind it. So how to process this information, how to process the insights, and create, sorry, not create, but improve your campaigns over time. I think this is the key elements that advertisers are going to look forward to in the future.
Yeah, 100%. James, I'm imagining you have a bit of a different take on this one, given the role of your company. What are your thoughts around the key opportunities?
I'll just touch on the kind of market in terms of Europe at first, and then talk more specifically about technology. So I get in terms of the opportunities for advertisers, it really will vary depending on market within Europe. We've heard from leaders in the industry talk about the percentage of retailers that have a retail media department in Europe, and France, Spain, Germany, and the UK have a, I guess, larger percentage of retailers with retail media departments. So for advertisers, there already is access to retail media networks, retail media online media, and then in-store media. So the opportunity is already there. So it's how do they enhance what they're currently buying into in terms of those networks. And then for markets which are, I guess, a bit more underdeveloped, it's an opportunity for both the retailer and the advertiser to shape the industry, and the opportunity for the retailer to go in with the kind of full capability of in-store and online from the get-go. In terms of channel, there's a real opportunity developing in terms of in-store. We've heard a lot now how a large majority of shoppers are still in-store. And actually, I was speaking to a retailer in Spain recently, and their e-commerce sales are only around 5 to 10% of their overall business. In other markets, it's closer to 20. So really, we've heard how there is an opportunity for in-store, but how do we actually monetize that? How do we make it happen? And the key thing is to match the currency and then the scalability of online to in-store. We can do that through segmentation, targeting audience groups, and not simply just channels and placements. And advertisers doing that at a rapid pace. We're kind of developing our technology to meet the demands of kind of the retail media market, and actually get the unification of segments is enabling us to connect online and physical retail media worlds. So integration with retail media platforms, integration with the wider retail media ecosystem, and that's kind of enabling a stronger proposition both in store and online.
Yeah, there's definitely some interesting things happening. Probably not 101 so much, but definitely some big opportunities out there as this ecosystem evolves. Anders, I don't know if you've got anything else to add to that.
Well, maybe sort of a wide perspective. So going back to the 101 guide, we're saying there's on-site, there's off-site, and there's in-store. And I think so. There's opportunity everywhere. Actually, on the on-site, which is historically probably the most effective channel, I think there's still opportunity, both for retail media networks and also for advertisers. And I think we shouldn't forget that it is the retail media functionality that resembles the most to the old Google search advertising, which actually made digital advertising take off back in the day. So, and that is very similar. It's very easy to understand. You're using keywords, you're using product targeting, and you can get phenomenal results out of it. At the same time, it's pretty much bottom of funnel, easy to convince your CFO. So there's a lot of opportunity in on-site still, and I think retail media networks are running to build enough inventory in that area actually. So that's interesting. On the off-site, I think very often in the market, we tend to get carried away a little bit with offsite, with audience extensions, because it's so easy to access, it's so easy to understand, it's so close to programmatic that you're like, well, this is very much closer to traditional, online media. But there's still a lot to do, and that's where basically we're getting the measurement challenges. So that one can be phenomenal, because you're almost in unlimited inventory, which isn't the problem on-site, right? So and now we're already into the sort of the holistic view of getting those two to work together. All the platforms are integrating right now. It's becoming fantastic. I mean, I'm a big fan of the of Amazon Marketing Cloud, which is not the one I work with the most today, but I'm a big fan of it because of the integration between on-site, off-site. And now, as James mentioned, we're increasingly getting technology plugged into the stores as well. And now we can't target in the same way. So I know, James is doing his Minority Report technology and saying I can iris scan, all right. Now at least I can understand more or less what audience is in front of a screen, a physical screen, which is amazing. But actually taking that data as an advertiser and taking it into a media plan and understanding the user journey is a whole different challenge that we're facing. But there's opportunity everywhere in that sense. So I'm very much a fan of like the holistic strategies where you're looking at when am I touching these people online? When can I go and reach them with the offsite? And when can I actually, talk to them in my store via, in-store digital out of home. So there's opportunity everywhere, and I think the most important thing as an advertiser is also to figure out, how do I go there? How do I go there? How far do I go? How much can I afford to spend? I think you shouldn't be carried away with just one of these channels. I think you need to go pretty much everywhere. And that's not even all. I mean, there are other sort of emerging technologies, and there are other activities that you can sort of tie into this with the couponing in store and with all sorts of new interaction out there. So tons of opportunity from my point of view.
So much opportunity. I don't know if you saw the article that came out last week from eMarketer, where they were talking about how retail media is just media. I know we've just talked here around the fact that like all the retail opportunities, but even beyond that, when you start thinking about it as part of a more holistic plan alongside your search and your social and your DSPs and your CTV, like so much opportunity to use insights from those channels to drive opportunity on the retailers. So I think we're only just getting started in this world. It's a really exciting place. For those retailers, there's a lot of them. We've seen the explosion over the last couple of years. It's hard for them, right, to stand out from the crowd and to develop their value proposition. Like, how should they go about this? How do you recommend they get started and think about building that value prop? I guess, Sultan, I'm gonna hand to you.
Sure, thank you. So our view is that retailers should try to differentiate retail media from classic media, not just simply by the fact that retail media is being close to the decision making, and in the lower funnel where you're close to the customer decision making, and by the fact that retail media has like tons of customer data. We think that it should and it has to be about deriving from retail media and drive value. So what can retail media provide more? And this differentiation, to make the differentiation not simply by the fact that retail media is close to the decision making, is also important, because by doing so it would keep retail media or the retail in general very close to the lower funnel, and this would just not show the full extent and full offerings retail media can give. And therefore we think that knowledge has to be derived from all the campaigns. So we have a lot of retailers, there are a lot of campaigns on the retail media inventory, and therefore we think that successful and unsuccessful insights should be gathered and make this knowledge available. So out of this, we can provide a very interesting and establish a very interesting product, especially in the CPA pricing area, for example, which is a unique USP we could provide. And also it's a risk the retailer is taking, which we should also own. And by the end, we should provide a very simple, robust, and clear, reliable product for the market that suits and fits the advertiser's strategy, and also supports brand lifting, and also share information about the information of category lifts, and information like new brand, retain lapsing customers. And so we would have a long-term good working relationship with the advertisers. There would be a good relationship between the advertiser and the retail media product publisher. And so we could have like an all-in-all customer lifetime value on both ends. Yeah, that would be our take.
It's kind of simply summarized as the data is the power with these retailers. They can use it to differentiate themselves and build that value prop based on what they have. Alban, you talk to a lot of retailers. What's your perspective on this?
Yes, and I must admit that all retailers are not like Sultan. Some of them don't have the same level of expertise. So I guess it really depends. But if I see if we interact with especially the retailers who contemplate building a new retail media proposition for their suppliers and their shoppers, for those ones, I think it's important to first understand the general and old mindset that some retailers still have today. They might have been used to trade marketing, and which is totally normal, of course. The thing is, retail media is quite an evolution, and also an addition to the classic trade marketing. Trade marketing works extremely well for anything that is related to short-term conversions and goals, but it is quite limited when it comes to reach, data, frequency, etc. So I guess that's the first thing. The first thing is to really, as a retailer, understand where the priorities are, understand that it is actually compatible to have trade marketing strategies and retail media strategies, especially when you start, and then you can start developing a proper timeline for your project. And if I deep dive a little bit, I would say that the value prop would revolve around full on-site. Obviously, we still discuss or hear projects from retailers about on-site retail media, which would be quite limited in scope. The problem with that is that if you do not combine sponsored products, banners, but also in, upcoming new retail media formats like potentially video, email, DOH, etc., it's going to be relatively hard to compete with other retailers and be able to target the relevant shoppers, and also make sure that you can have a proper full funnel strategy. So I think that part is key, and sometimes it's something that is not there. But if you want to have a value prop that makes sense, it is essential. Second point is to monitor and measure. I know that we're going to discuss this considering the people in the panel, but that's key, and this is something that very much underestimated even today. And the third one would be related to the teams that you have. You obviously need to hire retail experts. They need to understand retail and retail media, but maybe more importantly, they need to understand your audience first. And because you need to start your retail media projects by maybe ingesting some of the historical shopper data that you have so that you can improve the relevancy. It's not just about launching it, then learning, and then adjusting. It's about having a proper strategy in place. Then yes, you launch your retail media project, and then you can play with the insights and you can build something that improves over time. So that the team element is very important, but obviously sometimes you need to externalize as well. And if you need to externalize, in this case, you probably need to mix it with the in-house team and just consider this for sales, campaign management, maybe data analysis, things that would require some additional level of expertise from retail media guys. That's the kind of the ideas that I could have for the value proposition of retailers.
Right. And for any retailers that might be on the line still thinking about this, we've obviously got a lot of experts on this panel around this topic, so definitely wants to talk to. Conscious we have 4 minutes left on this panel. It's absolutely flown by already. So I'm going to go through the last 2 questions pretty quickly. So speedy answers from you all. What about the challenges that we've got to overcome? What do we need to do next? Like, what's going to take us to this kind of nirvana of the full funnel, programmatic, omni-channel universe that we've kind of talked about today? James?
Yeah, one of the first challenges is something that we're combating here in this webinar in the 101 guide, is that the standardization, the understanding and the education of the industry. And then the challenge is still a big discrepancy between online, offsite and in-store. So it's unifying that, and we've talked about that. How can we connect all of the dots? And also just to add, a lot of what I've been certainly talking about here, and I believe some of my fellow panelists is the retail media industry from a grocery perspective. I think is very different from a retail media industry from a non-grocery perspective. So I think we need to understand and differentiate that. So yeah, those are some of the kind of key things I think to bear in mind.
Anders?
Yes, very quickly. I think there's a sheer technical challenge for a retailer to get this up and running and cover all those areas. And then the next one, I think it feeds back into what Sultan was saying about building that into a value proposition that makes sense to advertisers. And then finally, I'd say, from the advertiser side, all the measurement and all the connecting all the data points is a huge challenge, and it will I think make or break this industry actually.
Sultan?
Very short. I think in words it's understanding. We need example, insights. These are the 3-1. I'd say we need a common understanding what is retail media. We still have like a lot, it's defragmented. We started, so we need a common understanding what is retail media. And the best would be to close the gap with like a flashy and strong example to say like, okay, this is retail media. This is what it stands for. This is where you start and where you arrive. So everybody understands what it is. We need to be fast, I think. We think everything is emerging, and if we want to have a common understanding and take the opportunity, we have to be fast and be on a strike. So not somebody else of the big ones maybe is taking over. And also insights, we think that we need also a common understanding of what are market insights, or what are we sharing, and but that would open up another topic, maybe ad verification, which is a whole new,
which is a whole other topic, probably not to be covered right now, given we've only got
that's why I'm closing with understanding, example, and insight.
10 seconds from each of you. 12 months time, we're on this panel again. What's going to evolve? What's changed? Where's retail media at? Anders, go.
We have about 25 major retail media networks out there. They're all plugged in with technology that allows advertisers to get a complete, cover the complete user journey and measure everything down to conversion.
Alban?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with Anders. It's going to be the fact that there are so many retail media networks out there means that automatically there will be further consolidation in the industry, which will stop the fragmentation, and which will mean that we will have more measurable and scalable solutions that could work across multiple platforms. So I think that I'm really looking forward to this, but let's see in 1 year.
Yeah, Criteo said it yesterday in their announcement, fragmentation is not our friend anymore. I think we're all agreeing. Kim?
Yeah, so two things from me. I think it would be remiss if I didn't mention AI from Microsoft. So, I see that definitely evolving within our space, helping to improve performance for brands and obviously for retailers. And then opening up into the network. So you talk about that fragmentation piece. we're already opening up the Microsoft Retail Media ad network into retailers' websites. So retailers are everywhere. They're not just online. Online is the sweet spot. That's where they want to be. That's where they drive sales and results. But there is a way to capture those shoppers wherever. So yeah.
Definitely, based on our conversations, I know some very exciting things to come there. James, 10 seconds.
Next 12 months. Yeah, so I think that we'll see more retail media networks build in the next 12 months, more retail media agencies. Whilst, as per Albon's point, we'll start to see consolidation. There may still be some more fragmentation over the next 12 months because there's so much new technology in the space, such as what we've been talking about, AI, in-store segmentation, in-store technology, etc. Lots going on.
And last but not least, Sultan.
We are here to stay.
What a way to end it. I love that. We are absolutely here to stay. I think this is just the beginning, and I'm definitely excited to see kind of where this industry is going to move going forward. On that, MC, we'll hand back over to you for the rest of the event.
Thank you, Michelle, and to all of the panelists, James, Anders, Kim, Sultan, Alban, and thank you to Sultan especially for jumping in last minute. We really appreciate that. So and just what a panel, some really, really interesting insights there, and also some really good action points, I think, for us as IAB Europe to take forward. So thank you very much. So with that, I'm now going to hand over to David Fieldhouse, who is Head of Commerce UK for Group M and also Retail Media Advisor to us, IAB Europe. And he's actually been working with myself over the last few months on the guide and lots of other things. And one of those things is a survey on the development of standards for retail media in Europe. And so Dave's just going to quickly give you an overview of what we found from that survey, and then jump into his panel. So Dave, over to you. Or I think you might be on mute still. Oh no, still can't hear you. Sure whether. Maybe try jumping out and jumping back in, Dave. I can see you trying to talk, but I can't hear you. Yeah, we'll give you a few seconds to reconnect. And while we do, just a reminder to everyone that if you have got questions for any of the panelists, do drop them in the Q&A. I've seen one on closed loop measurement, so if we have time to get to that, we'll get to that at the end. If not, we'll follow up afterwards. So thank you. I'll just give Dave a minute to hopefully fix his sound. And just a reminder, because I've had a couple of people ask me actually while we've been waiting. Yes, the webinar is being recorded and will be shared afterwards. I can see Dave is back, so let's try and unmute him. Hi, Dave. Can't see you and I can't hear you. Well, I can see you now, but I can't hear you. So I think what I'll do is I'll just talk through the next couple of slides while Dave hopefully sorts his connection out. So as I said, we did do a survey over the last few months of industry stakeholders about retail media barriers and issues in investment. So we had around 110 people respond, which is great over the summer. and that was split quite evenly between buyers, sellers, and what we would describe as retail media enablers. And a split kind of quite evenly across the European marketplace, with 20% of them having a global remit. So, oh, I think Dave's back.
Yes, apologies, MC.
No, that's okay. We can hear you. I'm going to hand back to you. So I've done the slide on the respondents. Hopefully you've heard me. And
yeah, absolutely. And I just to give everyone a bit of background, the survey was designed really to get into more detail on the standards that the industry wanted. Everyone talked fairly loosely about the need for standards, but were less forthcoming in terms of exactly what those would be. And so that was the basis for the survey itself. MC helpfully has outlined how many people we spoke to and so on. The results were fairly clear, and obviously they indicated the need for these standards to be developed across Europe. 70% of buyers, which is very high, cited a lack of standards as a barrier to investment in retail media. So for any retailers on the call, and people in the ecosystem that sell into media buyers, particularly like the likes of Group M, etc., that's a worrying number right now. So that's something that the IAB Europe is definitely going to be digging into. In terms of the priority areas for standardization, media 73% and attribution at 69% were the two top areas for the industry to really fix. We did also have third-party verification, campaign capability, and creative standards. But the media and attribution areas were the two key points, and that's again something that IAB Europe will be digging into and hoping to facilitate on behalf of the industry. Only just over half of buyers find retail media an efficient channel to buy currently, which again is a fairly sort of a negative stat. Only just over half. So I think it's not unusual in an early early development of a channel, but I think that efficiencies need to improve for sure. From a Group M point of view, we have enormous scale, but we can only scale when there are efficiencies. And so, again, we'll be working with the industry to help us on that front. You can download the full results from IAB Europe's website, which is iabeurope.eu. So that's a little snapshot, and I think we'll move on to the panel now. So hopefully all our panelists are here and don't have the IT issues that I seem to have at the last minute, so apologies. But I'd like everyone to sort of introduce themselves very quickly. Laura, could you go first and maybe give 10 seconds on your role, etc.?
Hi, everybody. My name is Laura Badea. I'm a partner in e-commerce at Wavemaker in the global team, and I'm also retail media lead. So I'm part of the agency ecosystem, and we work with large clients, I would say CPG clients also, the likes of Danone, Colgate, and so on. Mark, I think you are next.
Hi there, I'm Mark Balsinger. I'm the Business Development Director at Delable Verify, and we're helping brands, platforms, and retail media networks align across media quality measurement.
Me now? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Salvatore.
Well, nice to meet you, everybody. I'm Salvatore Cospito. I'm CEO of Ritmo, one of the companies that is making the revolution of the retail media in the Spanish market, and we are collaborating with the work group of the IAB, and as well we create like retail media events with the media that I'm collaborating, which is the name is Programmatic Spain. So working on several initiatives for retail media.
Hi everyone, this is Ada. 14 years in marketing, and now I'm leading digital marketing, media, and commerce teams for Unilever Turkey. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you, everyone. We'll go into our conscious of time already. Funny enough. We'll go into our first question for the panel. So the recent survey that we've just discussed found that 4 in 10 buyers are finding the buying of retail media inefficient. So the question is, what is causing these inefficiencies? I think perhaps I'll go to Salvatore first, if on this one.
Well, the retail media, my point of view, and nowadays having inefficiency on both sides of the value chain. This is due a lot of reasons that can be different depending on the market and how the advertising industry and trade marketing are implemented in the market. We see on the retail side that the most inefficiency is mainly who is owning the project in the retail, and how the retail is taking the new discipline as a main business or side business. What we see is that the budget expectations are very different depending on the case. So in this sense, we think that in the next month, what we should see that retailer can take the retail media strategy more seriously and scale this new discipline on the business level. The other point that we see on the retail side, that mainly they are working with technologies directly, and this is causing like a lack of communication, because we think that all the retail media strategy implemented on the retail side needs to have strategy and not only the technology. So that in this sense, we see that the retail media network are helping to move forward on this point. But in the case of Spain, for example, what we see that on the brand side, there's a lot of confusion of what they can really do in retail media. And this is probably is caused because we don't have any standard, we don't have clear the strategy of monetization on retail side. And then one of the main reasons that we see is that there is not an integrated strategy between the trade marketing teams and advertising team in the brands as well. So the consequence of this is that we have a lack of information of what we can really do in retail media, lack of measurement and lack of standardization. That is not maybe the origin of this inefficiency, but it's like the consequence of what I say. This is my opinion. So I think that the next month we see moving the ecosystem to cover what the retail wants, what the expectation of in terms of budget for retails, and this will cause a better solution for brands.
Yeah, okay, that's interesting. I think as we move sort of deeper into the question, how can we develop more efficiencies and whose responsibility is it? Laura, it'd be great to get your view from Wavemaker and from an agency point of view.
Yeah, thank you, David. So from an agency perspective, I think the inefficiencies we are seeing fall under 2 buckets. One is digital operations, one of the biggest drivers of inefficiencies. But the other one is inefficiency in terms of how much our dollar invested is returning in revenue. So there are 2 types of efficiencies, if you like, from an agency perspective. And I think we need to solve both. So the ad ops has always been complicated in digital world. Now multiply that by the number of retailers we have to work with. And it's kind of Facebook and Google at power 10 or 100. So that's why it's so complex. We need to kind of get together to standardize this process, the ad ops process, in order to kind of introduce a sort of efficiency in our ad ops processes. And when it comes to return on investment, because that's another type of efficiency that we see, I think oftentimes this is due to aligning your strategy, your job to be done, to the KPI. We've seen instances when people are trying to measure, an upper funnel tactic with ROAS, return on ad spend, and that's never going to work. So I would say, from agency perspective, is our responsibility to make sure that when we define a strategy, we assign the right KPI to each job to be done. Same as we do in any, core media advertising strategy. We should apply the same rules across retail media channels. So that's one of the things that I would recommend. I mean, we see going forward to improve on the educational side of.
Yeah, I agree. It's certainly, from an agency point of view, a labor-intensive exercise to buy retail media. We can deploy orders of magnitude higher levels of spend in other channels much quicker and more easily. So yes, I definitely understand your point. Ido, on this, obviously as a client, really ultimately these sorts of efficiencies need to be driven by you guys in a way. What's your view on how we can develop more efficiencies in the market?
From the advertiser point of view, it's mutual responsibility, requiring involvement of all parties, retailers, technology providers, media agencies, and of course the advertisers. All we have role to play in. And first of all, a critical role for advertisers is to handshake on retail media metrics. Laura also mentioned that with the retailers and also the providers, technology providers, to actually ensure a KPI standardization. And it's not only focusing on ROAS, it should be the full funnel and not only the lower funnel. Right now, we have started the question, yes, we start to invest our money into lower funnel, but retail media, offline and online, actually have a full funnel responsibility and approach. That's why in terms of brand building metrics, we should also start to measure that part. And secondly, the advertisers can share their perspective on business needs for retail media. For example, joint business plans. I think they are very crucial. For example, we have started to run these planning this year, and we see very, how can I say, improvements on the processes and standardization together with our retailer partners. And also test and learn. They are also very crucial because it's evolving journey. Most of the advertisers and also retailers across markets. Some markets are mature, some markets are not, some retailers are mature, some not, and also advertisers are like that. That's why the investments on test and learns are also very crucial.
Sure. Yeah, understood. It's interesting as you talk about the retailers need to join up. I think that's really critical. And actually, that's something the IAB Europe will be driving forward via a retailer council, which we're going to make more noise about next week. But fundamentally, these guys need to get together and agree a lot of these standards in order to make life a lot easier. So Salvatore, sorry, you wanted to jump in there.
Yes, because we, as a Ritmo, we are very close to the retail because we prepare the retail to have the best strategy to join network and make the things available for the brands. We say that the association and what the IAB Europe is doing with you and with the work group is very important because they need to have more education with the guide is very useful for that, and they need to understand how the advertising industry is running. So I think that one of the point that we need to work is bring the retail in this industry.
Sure, thank you. Okay, so moving on, in terms of standards, media and attribution, as we've discussed, are identified as the top priorities. So kind of digging into these a bit more. First of all, what is needed in terms of media measurement? Mark, it would be great to hear from you on this.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, really what's needed at this stage is a lot of education. And I think that's what the IAB is going to provide a lot of value for. And the media quality measurement side, we've seen offsite or audience extension inventory measurement really become just a standard process, almost a requirement. And that's due to the nature of programmatic advertising inventory. But now what we're seeing is this kind of evolution into on-site media quality measurement. And it's a totally different environment. For example, we see viewability rates that are, in comparison with traditional media sites, below what we have come to expect as a normal viewability rate. And the reason for that is purely organic to the type of inventory that's being purchased, right? Retail media sites are not designed for viewability. They are designed for e-commerce, and they're always going to be designed in that way. However, that doesn't mean that there isn't performance in the advertising, right? We see fantastic engagement rates, and we see fantastic, really, really strong performance coming from not only obviously the nature of having first-party user data implemented into the campaign, but then also from reduced ad clutter. So there is, I think, a lot of nuance to be discussed between what has previously been seen across digital media and what is going to be seen across retail media. Having those conversations between brands and between retail media networks, and having, as providers of vendor services incorporated, I think is how we're going to drive those efficiencies. We have to just get used to a relatively new world that we're seeing.
Yeah, sure. Do you think people haven't looked into this as much because the environments are, let's say, so brand safe? It's not like you've got to be a bit more careful in the open programmatic ecosystem. Do you think that's where the verification investigations, let's say, haven't been as robust just because of that assumption?
For sure. I definitely understand that's a very natural assumption. We really think about kind of not just obviously viewability, but IVT and fraud detection as another valuable element of media quality measurement for on-site. And I think that's going to be, as we advance, becoming really part of the standard marketer toolkit as you buy across a variety of different platforms. That's what we kind of see as the next step to unlocking greater scale, greater budget for retail media networks. And obviously there's a bit of a flywheel effect, right? As partners become more scalable, they become more standardized, it becomes easier, as you've just described, for agencies and for brands to buy. That's going to grow, and that's going to benefit everyone equally.
Sure. Okay. Thank you, Edo. And from your opinion, what do you think is needed in terms of media measurement from the advertiser point of view?
Actually, everyone and also me mentioned that. First of all, of course, the prioritization and standardization in media metrics, both lower funnel and upper funnel. And secondly, the technology, the data infrastructure as well, because still between advertiser and retailers, the data pass back and the APIs, the technology for this pass back is still improving. This needs to have standardization as well, like metrics. And also the attribution models. Standardization is needed for attribution models as well for windows. And also we need multi-touch attribution window, and we need to also measure that part as well, because it's the omni-channel, multi-channel model the retail media is. But right now we are just measuring the bits and pieces, the tools by itself, but we don't have this multi-touch attribution window in every tool and product.
Yeah,
that is what, yeah,
absolutely. on the attribution window is an interesting area. That requires a lot of collaboration from the retailers. In your experience, how likely do you think that could be achieved? As in them standardizing it across, getting them all to play.
Yeah, I mean, it's not mature yet, very immature stage. But as I said before, right now we are sitting together and we are sharing our feedbacks, we are developing together with the retailers. So I think it will improve. But the technology, the providers also sit together. So the two parties is not enough right now, as far as I can see.
Sure. Okay. It's interesting. So that's the kind of media measurement side of things. We also wanted to talk about attribution measurement. Laura, I don't know if you could maybe address this side of things. So it's just sort of digging into this in more detail, because really the devil is in the detail, and lots of people talk sort of top line about these subjects, but actually if you could put some specifics on around what's needed in terms of attribution measurement, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, well, that's a great question. So retail is detail. So we have to deep dive into details. And when we talk about attribution, this is like look back window. Is it 7 days? Is 14 days? Is 30 days? So each retailer will have different attribution windows. And then when it's about attribution model, here there is a little bit more alignment. Everybody is using a last click. However, we as advertisers know that last click is fine, but it's not what's contributing to a sale. So we know there is a lot of advertising that contributes to that sale. So I think in terms of attribution model, we're looking to understand what is the best, not a perfect option, because there will never be a perfect option, but what is a more fair way of looking at attribution. Was it linear attribution? Is it first and last? So again, alignment on this area as well. And then is KPI definition. We have different KPI definition for new to brand. We have views, we have clicks with viewability, views with viewability, and so on. It's so complex. On its own, it will take probably months to sort it out, just to ensure that a certain party involved in this process is in alignment. So what's needed, I think, here is to get all of us in a room. When I say all of us, and here the work that IAB Europe is doing with this retail media working group is absolutely crucial, because we are all working together, advertiser clients, ad tech and retailers, to define what good looks like. And then, to your point, David, get the retailers to kind of align and set up with one set of common denominators across all these criteria. So attribution model, attribution look back window, and KPI definition. So it's really just to compare apples with apples. So that's just one tiny bit when we start finally to compare apples with apples between retailers.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I think this type of insight is critical, because you're quite helpfully being very specific about these attribution areas that need fixing. And I think it's only fair as an industry that we are specific about these areas, so we can communicate it to the value chain, and so that things can change. So that's fantastic. Salvatore, do you have a view on what's needed in terms of this attribution measurement side of things?
Well, we can speak about KPI and that we can measure better things in retail media, but the reality is that retail media will not escape to all the measurement issue that the digital industry is having with the third-party cookie, and I think that they are not fixed. So I think that the retail media has the key to bypass this problem, because what we will see in the next year is in the next month, I think that is that a lot of retailers will have the CRM onboarded with tools to allow them to monetize their audiences. This is going to cause them to have a lot of retailers with their first-party data identified inside digital environment. So I think that in that sense, as the retailer has a lot of scare about to sharing data, they will use maybe probably data clean rooms, and the data clean rooms will have the key to give for the digital industry, lots of players with the first party data shared in a privacy by design and secure mode. And this is something that is going to push the traditional media to make the same thing. So I think that for the measurement, we are going to have a big revolution because the post-party cookie era, but I think that the retail media is the key to have a lot of first-party data of retailers available to make all the attribution model that can running in the proper way.
Thank you. Yeah, that all makes sense. It actually feeds neatly into the last question. We've got 2 minutes left. Mark, how do you think the industry could work together to develop the standards here? We obviously have touched on the retailers getting together. Do you have any other view on how the industry can develop these standards?
Yeah, I think you need really close collaboration between brands and retailers, right? Those conversations are incredibly important. And I think, honestly, it's the early adopters of standards that are going to benefit the most, right? They're going to be the ones that are able to unlock scale in the immediacy. They're going to drive stronger relationships with all their partners. But I think mainly they're going to be the ones that through the testing process that we're going to have to go through to understand these standards and to develop them at scale, they're going to have relationships with third-party providers. So I think engaging with the conversations for individual partners, testing, really even I would argue, ahead of kind of campaign functionality can be really important. So I think, when someone reaches out and says, hey, there's an opportunity for us to partner, definitely answer the phone. It's really, I think, important to have those conversations, even if they're not necessarily immediate action items. But we know the direction that retail media is going to scale. It's going to grow. That's pretty clear from everyone's opinion. So having an active conversation is the key to going through this teething process and rapidly moving up that maturity curve.
Yeah, I agree. I was old enough and grey enough to be around in the growth of mobile when that was a thing. So, just before iPhone dropped, and actually the industry had many similar issues. And I think there was a lot of success around collaboration up and down the value chain. And obviously, as we know, those ad dollars flowed. It will be interesting to see if the same can happen with retail media. Laura, in terms of your point of view, at an industry level, where do you think it's best to sit and where the sort of sweet spot is to try and get these standards developed?
Well, it takes a village. That's famous now about retail media. All we know is that it's transforming the advertising industry. So I think the work led by IAB Europe retail media chapter is crucial to drive this, standardization, measurement, definition, everything, the efforts that you are doing now, David, with IAB are crucial to designing a more standardized, view and understanding of retail media in order to all work on the same page.
Sure. Okay, and we've got 30 seconds left. Eda, what's your view here? And then finally, Salvatore, we've got about 20 seconds each.
All right. Addition to Mark and Laura's points, the industry should be working together. I mentioned that, yes, we are, as advertisers, for example, we are sitting together with retailers, but it's not enough because it's a big ecosystem. And like Laura said, retail media is also detail media. That is why we need to sit together with all the stakeholders, including technology providers as well and agencies. That is why like IAB initiative, 101 guide, and etc. Those are have very crucial role right now.
Sure, thank you. And Salvatore, in maybe 10 seconds.
Yeah, I will be short. Hopefully, the retail media we have to have the water garden on the addressability and accountability point of view. So I think that it's very important that all the water garden can offer these two characteristics to the industry to make the things more standable and seizable.
Sure, thank you, appreciate that. And a big thank you to everyone on the panel. We've got Laura from Wavemaker, Edda from Unilever, Salvatore from IAB Spain, and Ritmo and Paul Balsinger from Double Verify. So thank you very much. And I'm sure everyone wrote down retail is detail, because I did. So thank you, everyone. And I'll hand back to MC.
Thanks, Dave. And yeah, thanks to all of the panelists and to Dave for leading that really great discussion. I think, yeah, lots of work to be done here at IAB Europe and with our members. So looking forward to working with lots of you on that. Just before I close, just if you are interested in finding out more about the retail media work that we're doing and being involved with our working group, then you can reach out to myself directly. My contact details should be on your screen just now. We are also going to be at Mexico next week. We've got a Retail Media in Europe keynote presentation from our chief economist Daniel Knapp on the Wednesday, the 20th. And he's going to be talking about market sizing and standards. And then and we've also got a programmatic panel on the Thursday as well. So if you want to meet up with us or see any of our slots, then please do. And then just two other things to tell you about. We've got a Trust and Transparency event coming up on the 27th of September. It's an annual event that we do, all focused on things like trust and transparency. And this year there's a focus on how we can use transparency to build trust through the supply chain and AI specifically. And then the other thing we've got coming up has gone off of my screen. I apologise for that, but it is a startup series starting also at the end of September, which will provide spotlight on some of our startup company members. So please do look out for more information on that as well. But otherwise, thank you so much to everyone who took the time to join today and listen to our speakers. Thank you to all of the speakers who shared all of their insights and great thoughts. And yeah, we look forward to seeing lots of you on the next one. So thank you very much.